Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we are a few days removed from the latest balance patch that saw a bunch of changes to Hunter. We have the new Twist mode, Wonders format included, which is Legacy up to Mean Streets of Gadsden, as well as Wild, which got Caverns of Time cards and a bunch of buffs, and I wanted to go over today 5 decks you could take and reasonably expect to climb with in Standard, Wild, and Twist. The Twist decks very early. It's only been about a day or so be aware of that. But I wanted to give you guys some solid recommendations to play if you want to go for that legend climb in Standard, Wild, or Twist this September. And a reminder, we have our giveaway going on for $150 worth of Caverns of Time packs out of my pocket. 3 different $50 winners. All you have to do to enter that giveaway is like and comment in the video description below, the one with that thumbnail. Be subscribed to the channel, and if we manage to hit 1,000 subs by the time we announce the giveaway winners next week, I will add another $50 on there, so hit that sub button, make me go broke. And as always, deck codes in the description below, and craft at your own risk. All of that, especially Twist, like it's really early. But starting off with Standard, Mech Rogue seems to be the fast deck of choice. The ability to snowball super early with your, cheap magnetic mechs, make something stealth, get Wind Fury, scrap bots, all of that. Really scammy, really not the most fun to face, but it can be very fast, very explosive, and just playing Click Clocker on one, almost impossible to remove that for a lot of classes. You just start smacking magnetics on it. It is really hard to deal with. I am highlighting the Scourge Illusionist build that also has the Mothership to cheat that out, and you can slap magnetics onto that as well. Deck is doing very well, but be aware, you're going to win games fast. You're also going to lose games fast. As you get removed, you're usually out of gas outside of gear shift and all that. So be aware, pretty high rolly deck. And well, speaking of that, we have Drum Druid, probably the cheapest option on the list. It is still a very powerful deck. You get a bunch of treants, you keep summoning stuff, but basically you want to get your Drum Circle out, right? You want to get Drum Circle out, basically get it buffed up with Disciple of Eonar, or basically tutor it out with Embrace of Nature, so you get that combined effect, and then you can cultivation it for 0 mana almost always, and you can tutor those cards out and make them cheaper with Summer Flower Child. Again, this deck loses typically to a big board wipe, but you do have Ignis in this build to try and give you a bit more of that late game ability, but really hard for decks to deal with that big board. You can even consider running Topier if you have it, if you're running across a lot of warriors and stuff, just to give you that kind of constant board fill that they can't deal with. So again, probably the cheapest option to deal with, just a couple of epics, so more budget friendly, and again, very solid deck. Not so budget friendly is Rainbow Mage is doing incredibly well. I will mention that arguably the best deck in the game, I'm not including on this list, is Naga Mage. Just really hard to play, and it seems like only really relevant at high legend, but a lot more easy to play and probably a lot more fun for most people is Rainbow Mage with, the Sif payoff where you can OTK with her, getting all that spell damage and just using cheap burst. You got a bunch of created by with your Prismatic Elemental, Infatize the Maxitude, Discovery of Magic. This list here has Lady Nazjar, which if you played an arcane spell can allow you to make all the spells in your hand cost 1 less, making it a lot easier to OTK. And with a lot of warriors running around, that can be really important to get that extra burst, or maybe copy your Lady Sif with reverberations, can give you that actual lethality that, maybe 40 damage isn't gonna make the cut. It's a very fun deck to play, very effective, and also very frustrating to face. Standard Hearthstone at its finest. And we gotta highlight Odyn Warrior. I will highlight probably the more effective. I like the 40 card version better, but the 30 card seems to perform a bit better, seems to be a bit more popular. You get to play Odin a lot more, but this deck is a lot more about winning with Odin and, OTKing with your heavy plate, your Ignis, Wind Fury weapon, hopefully. You got Prison of Yogg-Saron in here just to YOLO board clears, get value. The card's very strong, and a bunch of buffed cards are in here, of course. Blade Storm, Stone Skin Armor, Craftsman Hammer is just absurd now, and Trial by Fire at 6 is also pretty darn ridiculous. It's a really fun deck to play, very effective, and yeah, definitely can recommend it. And Thaddius Warlock is still really good. The numbers are good, a higher legend at all ranks basically. Turns out the Thaddius nerf is still, it just made the card different, right? You still get insane mana cheat, and if you like reverberations it, you can just play out your entire hand, but it still turns out like, you know, a 5-mana Sargeras is still pretty broken. And yeah, it's just the same type of build. It's not changed much. You have some early aggros, anti-aggro cards in there like Forge of Wills, Defile. You got your 4-mana 7/7 Taunt. The deck list didn't have to change much since this nerf, and this deck is still very effective and definitely one I could recommend, and it allows you to play Sargeras, allows you to play Symphony of Sins, some pretty cool cards. For Wild, Wild's been taken over by Discard Warlock. The new location from Caverns of Time, Chamber of Visitus, is outright broken. It's broken in both modes. It's so broken that even though there's not that much discard synergy in Twist, it's still like arguably the best deck in Twist. But yeah, Discard Warlock, there's a bunch of different builds going around. I don't think it really matters what you're playing, as long as you're playing Chamber of Visitus, you got your discard cards in there. This ETC version recognizes you draw so fast to this deck that sometimes you want that Zeph or that Tony or that Phenotum that you can play like on turn 7 or 8 for dirt cheap. The deck just draws so much cards with Hand of Gul'dans and your Malkazars. It's just broken. I cannot imagine this card doesn't get changed, or like, I don't know what they're thinking. It's just broken, and not only in Wild, in Twist. That's why I think for sure it gets changed, but yeah, want to play some Discard Warlock, get in there, take advantage of it. And this is a list I saw that got rank 1. You might want to go for a more standard version like Tiny Knight of Evil that got buffed, but yeah, it's just a ridiculously strong deck. Pirate Rogue is being used to kind of, I guess, counter. They're going more weapon route. I've noticed lists that are going much more on kind of buffing up your Swordfish. So you have the usual Pirate Rogue shenanigans, but you also have like Deadly Poison. You have Harmonic Hip Hop. You have Cold Blood. The meta is getting so aggressive and wild, so crazy. You just gotta kill so fast that Pirate Rogues are just, yeah, trying to get as much damage, wicked stabs as possible. And yeah, this list got like incredibly fast legend this season already. So if you want to give a more aggressive, somehow more aggressive Pirate Rogue a shot, that is definitely a list to take a look at. Mech Paladin, it's just busted. One of the best decks in Wild. There's not much to talk about here other than Mech Warper is broken. Galvanizer is pretty busted. That Radar Detector allows you to draw 5 cards for 2 mana or 3 mana if you tutor with Stonehearth Vindicator. I guess technically it's 0, but you gotta pay 3 mana for that. And yeah, it's just absurd. Throw in Crusader Aura too, instead of like a War Gear if you want. Like, it doesn't really matter. You typically win or lose games based on, did I get Radar Detector early or not, because you just cheat a billion mana with Mech Warper, and almost no decks can really deal with that. And speaking of Mech Warper, Mech Rogue has been taking off in Wild as well, becoming incredibly powerful, really strong, because yeah, Mech Warper, Galvanizer, make your Mimiron, make your spiders cheap, get those cheap magnetics. Basically all your Spark bots become 0 mana. You can get Wind Fury, you can get Stealth, and you have a bunch of draw with like Gear Shift and Secret Passage, which is utterly broken. Definitely a deck I'm seeing more and more of in Wild, and it is just, it wins or loses so fast as well. It's just outright disgusting. You can see Wild is not much fun if you want to play the late game, but maybe if you want to stall all this aggression, you play some Odyn Warrior, which got so many buffs. You've got Shield Shatter in here. This is Martian's list, by the way. Trial by Fire, ETC, which allows you to play cards like Lord Barob, allows you to play Rikara. I actually cut Shield Slam. I put Sticky Fingers in because I kept facing so many Kingsbane Rogues, which again, another valid deck. And I also mentioned for standard, Arcane Hunter, still really good. I just don't want to recommend Hunter for the billionth time. But yeah, Odyn Warrior is a lot of fun to play. It can deal with all that aggression, and that's the majority of decks I feel like I'm facing on ladder these days. So definitely farms the aggressive decks. It can just struggle with the really big early mech turns from those mech decks, especially if they have Divine Shield. That can be one of the biggest issues, but other than that, it does pretty well. And then for Twist, I'll highlight my list. I got rank 1. I had that video yesterday. highlighting it. I don't think this is refined whatsoever. I think it can definitely be improved. Dark Iron Skulker for one. I think you probably want to play just like an Undercity Huckster, get more early game, more value. This didn't hit a lot, but overall the deck just, you have really good early game in here with your Pirates and Patches. The Jade cards are incredible. The Scarab Lord, if you draw it, you basically win. It is an outright broken card. And Sprint is like the best draw option outside of the Warlock location in Twist. Because yeah, back in the day it was 7 mana, and now you can prep it and play it for 3. So it's better than the old prep Sprint, right? So yeah, really solid deck. I find it a lot of fun to play. One of the new cards as well, Jade Telegram, is just outright toxic and broken. Honestly, doesn't feel like it should be in Twist. It just feels like a modern card, which makes it feel toxic. And that's modern Hearthstone for you. But yeah, really fun, really good. And Rogue is one of the best performing classes in Twist so far, alongside Warlock, which again, discard Warlock it's literally this card. Chamber of Isidis is what carries this deck. If it wasn't for that, I don't think discard Warlock's all that great in Twist, but you basically get to draw your whole deck if you draw this early, because you're going to draw your other one. Yeah, Malchezaar's Imp to rip through everything, and you have a lot of damage. Like you can hit for your Fist of Jaraxxus, your Doom Guards, your Soul Fires, and Dark Bonds. There's a lot of reach in the deck. You can get unanswerable minions like Tiny Knight of Evil, cheat out your Silverware Golem, and tons of people have been getting early legend already with discard Warlock. It's like this and Jade Rogue are like the two most popular decks so far in Twist, so I gotta recommend those lists. Corbett did really well with this Beast Hunter. I also saw it a lot on my clients, similar decks of just basically Face Hunter. I did note somebody was running Knife Juggler, which was a good solid fit with this deck, especially with Unleash the Hounds and all of that. You might want to consider cutting a certain, like one of these cards for a Knife Juggler. But yeah, you have, you know, Undertaker, which wasn't nerfed at the time, or was nerfed at the time, isn't now, just fights for a board. And when you have cards like Ball of Spiders and Starving Buzzard, you don't really ever run out of cards. It's another one of those modernish style of aggro decks that don't run out of cards, has reach with Kill Command. You could also consider a Leroy, Glaive Zuka. I've seen tons of different builds of it, but this one looked pretty good, pretty tight, and very B-centric, so I'm highlighting it. As well as Anything Paladin was a deck I surprisingly ran into quite a bit. One of my favorite archetypes of all time, really benefits from the buffs to enter the Colosseum. Keeper of Uldamon, Hammer of Wrath used to be 4 at the time, so it's pretty good at 3. And Lay on Hands at 6 mana. But basically what you want to do, play out your Murlocs, so your 2 Murloc War Leaders, your Bluegills. You could cheat them out with your Finja as well as Old Murkai, and then you just bring them back with Anything Can Happen and kill your opponent. It's like OTK damage, especially if you play it twice. And you could draw cards for 0 mana if you cleared 5 minions with Solemn Vigil. It's a really fun deck. It's also got the buffed Wicker Flame Burn Bristle Ivory Knight, one I haven't played yet, but I'm very excited to try out in the upcoming days. And last, I just saw this really cool, I think it's like an anti-Warlock deck. I don't know what else it's really beating, but if you're facing a lot of discard Warlocks, this is just all removal. Basically, you have some early game like First Mate, War Axe, and stuff like that. You have Blast from the Past, that brand new card, it shuffles a bomb. But because your Warlock opponents are drawing so much, you play Iron Juggernaut, they take 20 mind damage. They don't really run healing, right? So you can stall, kill them with that. You can bring them back with N'Zoth, cheat out stuff with Emperor. Be warned, Sword Eater is in the deck, but that's not gonna last. That is unintended. It's not supposed to be in Twist. It's a core set card. It's not a legacy card. But other than that, the deck, it looks just kind of troll. I don't know if it's any good. This guy got like early legend with it, so I'll give it some props. And it's a more slower deck, Control Warrior style deck to play, and it just looks kind of neat. So there you go. Those are a bunch of decks for you guys to try out in whatever mode you're playing. Let me know what's working for you, what's not. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.